It's the Messi show in the Bronx. That's it. We're going to have to talk a little bit about 5-1 at Yankee Stadium as well. It's NYCFC Views. Thanks for joining us live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Hey, everybody. I'm Glenn Crooks. There's Roberto Abramowitz, and we are anticipating a bit of a turnout tomorrow at Yankee Stadium for our broadcast of New York City playing host to Inter Miami. And, well, Roberto, it looks we're going to go back and review Philadelphia a little bit, but every indication it seems to be that the Lionel Messi will play in this game. Now, somebody named Lizzie Becherano, it's Becherano.
Yes.
She covers the team, and she said Inter Miami assistant coach Javier Morales noted that Tata Martino will put out the strongest lineup for the match against NYC. And then her next paragraph, this is a tweet or a post, Lionel Messi is fit to play, but his participation in the match will be determined later today. This was put out. This was put out at 1:05 p.m. So
maybe that might explain something.
Explain
the fact that tickets have gone down in price. So when I posted this morning, and for those of you who follow me, I posted the latest at Ticketmaster, and that was somewhere around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, and tickets were just above $125 per for the game. And then later on, I checked when I got home after coming back from Maris to bring Eddie home, and tickets were below 100. So maybe that has something to do with it. So for what we understand, there might be a couple of thousand tickets left. So there are about 46,000 seats available at Yankee Stadium for which is now a sellout there. Back in 2015, the last time New York City got a 45 plus crowd, it was 48 and change, but they've made some configuration changes at Yankee Stadium, pulled some seats out, put some luxury boxes in, and standing room areas, etc. So now it is a 46,000 and change.
Okay. And a tweet from New York City FC Fan Services. So if you're a supporter, you probably received this, but gates are opening early at noon for the 2:10 p.m. kickoff.
Okay, so that's 30 minutes extra.
And they're asking the fans to arrive 60 minutes prior to the match to ensure that you can get into the stadium by kickoff. So,
yes.
It's going to be a different kind of day. We both have pledged to get there earlier to set up our thing and make sure we're all secure, because it's going to be it is a circus wherever this club goes. And they were preparing on Wednesday night at the Philadelphia match. We have passes that we normally can get down on the field and, chit chat and things like that. Not this time. And they were kind of preparing for the Messi game. They, no one gets.
I was sort of surprised with the cattle prods that they used against you, but that, I get it.
Well, listen, I like to go down and get a feel for the whole play. To me, I still get a rush every time I go into that stadium. As a lifelong Yankee fan, and every time I get to go down onto the field, I'll almost always take a selfie and send it to my family. Sometimes I'll do a pregame hit from there. It's just I like being down there, And
I haven't been down in a long, long time. Well, now that we don't do the previews anymore, I guess I could, but I guess I picked the wrong day to see if I could go down, which would be tomorrow.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're not getting on there tomorrow because. Listen, Messi's got his bodyguard. I'm not getting close to Messi anyway, man. The guy will kill me. But I'll
All he's got to do is look at you, and you'll be like, "Yep, I'm good."
Yeah. Anyway,
Did you remember when he ran onto the field after some fan ran on? And my God, I mean, Usain Bolt was impressed.
I was more remembering how he was running through, and I don't remember who the opposing coach was, but he was running through the technical areas, like to follow Messi as he made his jaunt down. And I haven't seen that again, so I think he was probably told, "No, dude.
Yeah, you can't do that. Even with Messi, you can't be going and doing that."
I mean, but hey, it's a different look. The guy, he's a rock star. He's the GOAT, and it's going to be a thrill to see him. Like I know you remember this vividly, but I think the first, seeing David Villa play and seeing him in person, that was exciting.
Yeah.
Seeing Frank Lampard, yeah. But when Pirlo came on the pitch for the very first time, I mean, being in that stadium when Pirlo came on and played, it was against Orlando. That was that 5-3 game where Kyle Larin got a hat trick. Goals for Orlando, and Pirlo was brilliant. He came on as a sub. I got a bit of a chill now, and just because I just was more in tune with his. He's got the aura. And
yes, he does.
Certainly Lionel
Messi.
I
mean, we've seen Messi play. I'm sure that he's played in New Jersey several different times. So it's not nothing new. I mean, with the Argentinian national team or
I've seen him twice in person, Roberto. I saw Argentina play Brazil in an exhibition years ago at MetLife.
Yeah.
And I remember that vividly because I think I've told you this story. The turf that they laid down on the artificial surface for that game ended up being shipped to Rutgers University, and it became our game field, which was
that's pretty nice. Yeah, so he's played 8 times, and he's got 7 goals. He's got 8 times and 7 goals, all of them in the Garden State. So if he does play tomorrow, and we really do expect him to play tomorrow, this will be the first official game that he's ever played within New York State.
3 of his 7 goals, by the way, were in that game against Brazil, just for the record.
Yes.
So, and then the other time I saw him, and this was a little bit more of a thrill and kind of just cool to be there, was in Qatar against Mexico when he scored that, that really quick shot and goal from just outside the area. And then I was back home when Argentina, won it all. But it's just, but not just, we've seen Suarez, he scored the goal 1-1 in Miami. So we've seen Suarez play. Busquets started at the back in that game. We'll certainly see him in the midfield in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he moved to the midfield later in that match. And then Jordi Alba, the big 4, they're going to start tomorrow. I mean, I don't think there's any question.
I have a hat trick of great players that I've seen. I don't know if you do as well, but back in the 1970s, I covered the Cosmos. And so all throughout 1977, which is when I first started, I got a chance to see Pelé play every single game. So I got this chance to see him. During the World Cup in 1986, I went to every Argentina game, and I went to several of their practices. I got a chance to speak with Maradona, and it was sort of weird of Maradona talking about himself in the third person. That sort of stuck with me back in 1986. And I've seen Messi several times play in New Jersey and in Copa America, and that final. I was there at that final when they lost to Uruguay, and he put the penalty kick somewhere in the upper deck in the mezzanino for all you old Cosmos fans.
Yeah.
And then he quit the national team that day, for a while, and then obviously he came back and won a World Cup and all that. So I have a hat trick of the 3 greatest players of all time.
Well, the thing we should note about Pelé, I saw Pelé play too with the Cosmos. I wasn't covering them at that time, but I did see him play. And for that matter, Franz Beckenbauer, Carlos Alberto, I mean, they're not of the same ilk, but they kind of are actually. But,
yes.
When you win a World Cup, you're in a certain category. But we should note that Pelé, and this is kind of a nice correlation, in 1976, Yankee Stadium was the home of the Cosmos. and they didn't put sod down. They just let the dirt fly.
Yeah.
Second base and shortstop. So Pelé played that entire year in a baseball stadium on the dirt, on the grass, and now you've got Messi. So
I have a great caveat about that. You ready for this?
Yeah.
The Yankees said that the Cosmos were allowed to play there unless it rained and they had like 24 hours before, and then if it did, they couldn't play. And I don't think it ever came to an effect, but there was this contract that basically said, yeah, if it rains, yeah, you're not playing.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know if there's any kind of a clause between New York City and the Yankees too. I mean, if it got to be a mess, would they say, would somebody from the Yankees come in and say, sorry, we don't think it's a good idea that you tear up
the field is in too good a condition, and baseball doesn't rip it up. Soccer doesn't rip it up the way, the NFL would. If the Giants were still playing at Yankee Stadium, then, maybe they'd be a clause of something like that. I mean, remember the Giants used to play at Yankee Stadium.
I have seen Fran Tarkenton throw a touchdown pass to Homer Jones, like a 60 or 70 yard.
There you go.
That's the 60. I mean, we're showing our age, Roberto.
I got to see the Jets at Shea Stadium.
I did that too, with Joe Namath. So because we're showing our age here, I do have a couple of. I like to have the age quotes ready.
Oh God.
This one is good. You've reached middle age. We might be a little past that. You've reached middle age when you're cautioned to slow down by your doctor instead of the police. I love that. That was Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers. Okay.
I love Joan Rivers, but no.
You don't think that was funny?
No.
Your sense of humor is whack.
That's like old Rodney Dangerfield. That's like, they call those dad jokes.
Mm.
My son would be very disappointed in me if I actually had said that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny. And that's why
that's good.
That's why I shared it.
I'm happy you are.
I've got it. All right. So I'm going to go just because of that. I'm going to go with another one.
Oh God, no. What have I done?
I'm at an age when my back goes out more than I do. Come on, man. That is good. That is good.
We are in trouble. We're in real trouble.
All right, let's get to this.
Sammy's going to drop us.
Let's get to this debacle of a score line from Wednesday night against Philadelphia. It's a tough one to figure out, Roberto. It really is. And I'm trying to retweet, and I'm seeing the old. I'm not seeing the new show here. Oh, there it is.
I already did it at the beginning.
Yeah, I didn't see it. All right, here it is. And we shared a YouTube clip too. Anybody watching us on X right now or listening on the audio device, if you do go on YouTube and watch us and listen, or just watch, you can put comments and questions there. That's the only way I think you can ask questions, right, Roberto? On YouTube?
I believe so.
I think that's correct.
I mean, we could see the tweets if they tweet underneath.
That's true.
The ones that we shared, we could see those.
Yeah, we could do that too. Yeah, you can put stuff in there too.
Shane may alert us that something is there.
Yeah. The 5-1. So it all started. And in my pregame show, and you listened in, Roberta, with Nick that I recorded today that will air tomorrow at 1:45. I did lay into Tavon Gray a little bit because on the very first goal scored, and first of all, Philadelphia is number 1 in MLS in set piece goals. They had 15 coming into the game.
I
know how many? You know how many they have now?
17.
And this first one, the entire back line pulled out. It was a corner kick. The ball was punched out of the area, and everybody pulled out except for Tavon Gray. And I'm going to point to individuals, and I think we laud Gray and his advancement in his ability to place the ball in the good areas. 6 assists this year.
Number 3 on the team.
Yeah, I mean, has really made great strides, and defensively still remains one of the best in the league. But you can't. These are the moments that, boy, you go back and you just it's beyond scratching your head because it's potentially points lost, which is where you rank in the top 9 to get into the playoffs. You're not even guaranteed a playoff slot yet. So what he does is he gets tangled up with Jacob Glesnes. He's like, and he doesn't need to be. He needs to get out with the rest of his crew, and then Ty Bariba would have been offside, no goal, and who knows where it goes from there.
Exactly.
Okay? But he was in this little scuffle. It was like, I thought he was just being kind of macho or whatever that might be at that moment. Yeah. And
they were manning up, if you'd like to put it that way.
You've got to get out, and you don't get caught up in that kind of stuff. I always said to players that when you do that, and we know Tavon's a good guy, and he's straightforward with everything. From the Bronx, he's just he's a great kid. But for that moment, he put himself ahead of the team, like his little thing he had to do. And you can't do that. You can't do that at any moment in a game. It's like the people that have body language after they, give the ball away rather than, no, chase it down and win it back. It's okay, man. People make mistakes. People have the ball taken away from them. So I know I'm going on a bit here, and I'm not playing that clip from Nick. You're going to have to listen in to how he responds. But he pretty much agreed with me, don't you think?
Yeah, he did. And look, it was a game of individual mistakes, especially from guys that we don't expect them to make mistakes. It was such a weird game. And so you have Matty Freese, who's been probably the best player for New York City all year long. And I would say probably the best goalie in the league so far this year. He just dropped the ball, and they were just right there to put it right in. And it was like, how does that happen? I mean, it was shocking. And then to see the ball before that, and that it goes over
under Martin's
under Martin's leg, and then that turns into a goal 2 seconds later. And you're like, what is going on over here? And even with all of that, and then the team, they sort of had this lull after these things happened. Right, where I don't know if they were feeling sorry for themselves or they were just frustrated, but they lost mentally. They sort of lost their way. And so it seemed to be like from that first goal on until, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 minutes. And then New York City started to get some chances, and they were a little bit unlucky. There was the one that went just over Martinez's foot. There was a fantastic service by Tavon Gray. I mean, that's a great pass, great vision, great pass by Gray to Keaton Parks over the defense, right on his left foot. Parks one-times it, which is the right thing to do, and sadly, it went right into the goalie. And if that scores, that's like a worldie. That's a fantastic goal. Sadly, it did. And they had all these opportunities they didn't put in. And so then Nick said something that was very interesting. He said, I don't remember a game where you lose, where you allow 5 goals and you lose, where your expected goals was 2-1. And in this case, it was 311 to 1.76 in favor of New York City.
Yep. Well,
and I guess it's right.
Well, the freeze drop. I mean, that's not an expected goal. The ball that skips under Thiago Martins, that's not an expected goal. But many of these others were. The one that skipped over Alonso Martinez, Harriel got just a piece of it. That ball that came across, and it just altered the bounce of the ball, and Martinez just couldn't adjust. But that's a big miss, obviously. Parks in front of the goal. Parks hitting the post in the second half, which would have made it 3-2. And then a scramble. It was 4-1. Well, we're going to get to the fourth goal here in a minute because that's the one that
that killed the game.
The game was over. So let's get to that. Corner defending. It was a corner kick goal for Jacob Glesnes. So, and he's a target on these things. Jacob Glesnes is a target on these things, okay? There's no secret to that. So, New York City defends corner kicks zonally. And these are the conversations I like having with Nick because I think he likes to talk about the soccer aspects of it. And he also talked about how it starts with proper blocking. You'll hear me refer to Kevin O'Toole here, and then it goes from there. So let's play Nick Cushing about the corner defending, and then you're down 4-1.
Oh, defensively, you set up zonally. You talked about a block. Now, I'm wondering if you're referring to Kevin O'Toole, and we're not just going to pin the blame on one guy, but it seemed like Glesnes got past him pretty easily, and now it's Thiago Martins flat-footed while Glesnes is approaching him. Martins is set up zonally. So how do you confront this if you're going to be zonally to attack the ball rather than let the opponent attack it, as it really happened on this game-sealing goal?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of debate around our set play, right? And we do it here in the coaching office every day, whether it's defending or attacking. And if you look at last year, we conceded a lot of goals in the early part of the season on set play. Now, set play won us the MLS Cup in 2021. Set play played a huge part in getting us to the conference final in 2022. We have the same guy doing the set plays, and they're the same set plays. Now, part of it are blocking, defensively blocking and not allowing runs. Thiago Martins, it's impossible for Thiago Martins to win that ball. Now, if you look at when we get the set right and we execute right, the blocks, and whether it is Mitja Ilinic or Kevin O'Toole or whoever, Munsef Bakra, whoever we put on, there's many, Alonso Martinez at times. If people execute in the moments, then we don't concede goals. And our defending has been excellent this year. It's up there with the best defensive record on set play in MLS, right? But when we give them away, we give ourselves a real challenge in winning football games. And when you play against Philadelphia and you give 2 set plays away, it's really disappointing because you know that is a huge strength of theirs.
So a bit of an explanation. So if you look at the replay, to me, it was Kevin O'Toole who missed the block on Glesnes so that he's not flying towards the goal, where Martins is just zonally set up mid-six.
Yeah,
So
he has momentum. Glesnes has all the momentum, and he can jump up and fly into the ball for sure. And Martins, the ball was coming right at him, but he really didn't have a chance. And so, yes, they've got to prevent those runs from happening. So Martins is able to clear that ball, and that's not what happened, and Glesnes got a freebie on it.
How about how he said it was impossible for Martins to win that ball, which is it's disconcerting because it's in his area, and I'm not certain why he can't still attack it. But one day I'll get because
the ball was coming right to him, and if he takes a step back, it falls in front. If he takes a step forward, it goes over his head. If the ball was literally coming right to him, all he can do is jump vertically, and that doesn't give him any momentum. And just as he's about to jump vertically, Glesnes came and barreled in.
I'm going to give you a way to solve this, okay? Rob Vertugien is the coach he was referring to that's been in charge of the set pieces since Nick's been there. And we played zonal on defending corners too throughout all my teams. It was kind of a mix. We zoned at the top of the 6 with 3 players, and then we kind of manned up in other spots. And our best header would be in a position where we felt they would serve the ball. I think that's the way to do it. And they scout every aspect of this. Just see if this makes sense. Mm-hmm. We used to tell our players that were zonally at the top of the 6 to take a big stride back towards your own goal into the 6 so that you could approach the ball and clear it so that you could move towards the ball. So as Glesnes is coming for it, now Martins is also going for it. You've got a chance for a massive collision there. However, and the idea is if your keeper wants the ball, they're going to call you off it. So it's okay that you're inside the 6. And that's the way we solved attacking the ball when you're in a zonal position rather than being stationary. So I'm not
I see your point. I absolutely see your point. But obviously, in this case, Martins was just there, and the ball was literally coming right at him. And Glesnes had a head of steam, and Martins didn't. And there was nothing at that point, there was nothing he could do.
Now, the reason that the game was even close at halftime, and really it was a moment of okay, we've got a chance, because we know New York City, they were getting some opportunities. And we all recognize that the 3 goals conceded in the first half were all individual mistakes. I mean, that's kind of a fact.
Yeah.
That Alonso Martinez gets the gets the leveling goal from Kevin O'Toole, who records his first assist, by the way. O'Toole's first assist on the professional level.
And he's responsible for the last 2 goals of New York City because he was the one who was fouled in the penalty box for Santi Rodriguez to get the penalty in the last game.
Which I have a long time claimed should count as an assist in the record book. If you draw a penalty and it's scored, right? I suppose we argued that one for about 5 minutes.
We've done this one already.
All right, we won't go back to it, but
thank you.
It certainly should be. Anyway, so Martin, this is the 5th minute of stoppage time. Okay, in the 58th minute. Okay, in the 58th minute, Alonso Martinez is taken out of the game in favor of Monsef Bakrar. So I know there was a question after the match. There was a bit of stuff going on social media where Alonso Martinez was asked about his fitness. He said he could have, he was fine. He could have stayed in, which I don't regard that because that's what a player will say. Players don't want to come out. They don't want to come out, especially after they've scored a goal. They don't want to come out when in their previous 2 home games, they had scored multiple goals. And he's the most reliable goal scorer in a game that you're now in. You're now in the game. Yes. So I think it's a fair question to ask Nick Cushing about this. And again, I don't regard the player telling somebody in the media, I could have gone. You have to. The managers, that's what they're managing, and they're managing a bit of a clogged thing here during the course of the week. So, Roberto, I'm going to play my question in its entirety here, which I know you got a kick out of. So here we go, talking about why is Alonso Martinez coming out of the game?
I used to coach, and it might have been a defeat. I would come home, and my family, my wife and my 2 children, they would start asking me questions about why I did things as the head coach. One of those things would always be, why did you take that player off? And we know that more goes into it. We don't just do things for the sake of doing it. But regarding Alonso Martinez coming off at the 58-minute mark, your leading scorer, he had just scored 8 minutes earlier. It was 5 minutes plus stoppage time in the first half. We know he missed one too, but it seems he is clearly your best chance to get back into this game, yet Bakrar comes in for him. So can you just share with us some of the thinking around that? We know you have 3 games in a short period of time, but I'd like you to explain it rather than me.
Yeah, we have 3 games in a short period of time, so you got to look at how you're going to manage the roster. Monsef came in Columbus and scored. Monsef is training really, really well. I ended up with 2 strikers on the pitch in Jovan and Monsef. I thought Alonso in the box was good. I think he has to come and link the game better, has to come and set the ball better, has to be involved in the general play better in this game. But at the same time, he's 2 chances in the first half. So, yeah, I think, Alonso's going to start the game against Miami. I think he's trying to manage the roster through those 2 periods with 2 guys behind me that are really hungry to play.
So he kind of intimated that Nick Cushing didn't think Alonso Martinez was maybe playing a proper number 9 for the way that game was. The way he talked about it, he's got to be more active coming into the midfield, bouncing the ball into players underneath him and things like that.
A little more of a postal player, I guess, right? I mean, and getting more involved with us. Although that's not really as much as game, but I mean, you can instruct him to do that, and what you would presume that he would become more active in that way. Yeah, I didn't. I was sort of surprised that he took him off at that juncture of the game as well, because he's obviously, stats tell you this, and the eye test tells you this. He gives you the best chance to score that you have, right? He's got 12 goals. Nobody else has more than 8 or 9 that Santi has 9, right? And in a lot less minutes. Bakrar has 4 goals, and Bakrar, I believe, has played more minutes. And if maybe they're even.
I've got it right in front of me. Bakrar,
good. Okay.
Bakrar, 1,283 minutes, 4 goals and 1 assist. Martinez, where are you? 1,114 minutes. So he's essentially played 2 games less. 2 games, like 180 minutes less. 12 goals and 3 assists. So 15 goal contributions to 5. Well, anyway,
he gives you, let me finish my point. And that to me, Martinez gives you the best chance to be able to tie that game. Yeah. And so I was surprised that he took him out at that juncture. So maybe if he's at the 75th minute and nothing's happening, all right, then maybe you do that and you give him a 15-minute rest, and and so because he's going to start against Miami. Yeah. But he gives you the best chance to tie the game. Yeah, he just does, because he shoots on frame. He's a lot more accurate. The stats tell you that. And Bakrar runs his butt off, and he's going to pressure high, and he's going to create opportunities. He had one chance that was saved off the line in a beautiful, beautiful scramble. I mean, that was a great play by Andrew Rick, the 18-year-old goalie, only in his 6th game. But and Mijatovic comes on, and Mijatovic had a couple of chances as well. But Martinez is the one who buries the ball. That's who he's been this year. And it's been in a limited time that he's done this. Once they figured out, he's really our best striker and not really as much of a winger as he is a striker right now. So I would have left on, because that, I think, to me, it's probably, even in that situation, it's probably easier to get points against Philadelphia that didn't have Elliott on starting defense, didn't have Blake in goal, no matter how well Rick played. And you have a better chance of being able to get back into that game and tying it. Look, New York City already has a history of coming back from 3-0 deficits. They did it 2 years ago against Cincinnati. Actually went ahead 4-3 in that game before Cincinnati came back and tied it at 4. So to me, I probably would have left Martinez in there.
I've lost track of what you're saying.
I'm saying that New York City has come back. New York City has come back from deficits such as this 3-0 that they had. Yeah.
No, there were chances galore. Keaton Parks hit the post to make it 3-2. I mean, he's got to tuck that in. He has to tuck that in. Oh my! What a ball out of the midfield by Santi Rodriguez. I'll tell you, Santi Rodriguez has delivered some really, really impressive passes this year out of the midfield. I mean, that's why, the number 10 role for him it's his best position. Yes, and I wasn't going to say that at the beginning of the year but he's really improved in that department. As far as, he can bend it, he can drive it, he can put it on the deck in between defenders. He's really
he's a very good creator. His only thing that he's got to get better at is stop dribbling himself into traffic. Yeah, that's the only thing that he's got. He's got to be quicker to release some of the balls, and he'll get it right back, because New York City is going to feed him, because they know that he's a guy who can make that definitive pass. Maxi Morales can make that definitive pass. And again, Tavon Gray made a great pass to Keaton Parks in the first half. So I'm impressed with that level of what Gray has done as far as that improvement in his game. It's a huge step forward. But the mistakes that he's made defensively, but the mistakes that he's made defensively this year, that is very surprising, because to me, he's taken a step back, because to me, he was one of the top lockdown defenders in this league, and he was very, very steady in that role.
Yep, just losing his head for a couple of moments. You're talking about the handball, as well recently, which was, lost points. I mean, that's the only way you can look at it. Hey, before we leave Alonso Martinez, I do want to point out that John Arnold, who's an excellent writer, and now he's apparently writing for MLSsoccer.com. I didn't even know this, but he did a feature on Alonso Martinez, and you have to be able to speak Spanish to
Which he does very well.
Story. So and it really it tells a really fun tale about this small island off of Costa Rica, but part of Costa Rica where he grew up with a population of 4,000, everybody making their living as fishermen. And that's where Martinez comes from. And now he's in this place with 8.3 million people, New York City. So there you go. Yeah. I mean,
I'm happy. I need to read that. I haven't had a chance yet, but I want to read it. And he's a really good writer too. And he has a Substack that you can subscribe to. And CONCACAF, I think it is. I'm not sure. I think that might be it. But
that sounds right. I have it. I do have it. And so that's John Arnold, MLSsoccer.com. So I suppose we move away from this game now? Do we just get the hell out of it?
Here's no. Before we do, I want to ask you a question because you're a coach, right? The best thing that happens to New York City is the fact that they got a game 3 days later. Don't have to sit and stew from Saturday to Saturday to wait to play. How do you think the team's going to respond on Saturday against a team that they've done very well against, by the way?
Yeah, only lost once in 10 games to Miami. All competitions, including a win in the playoffs, a decisive victory in the playoffs. But it's the 5th time that New York City is playing Miami after Lionel Messi has been signed. It'll be the first time that Messi, we think, I'm sure he's playing, but it'll be the first time in 5 games that Messi will be on the pitch. So it's a different story, obviously. And we've seen Miami this year, Roberto. It's a completely different story. They finished last in the league in Eastern Conference last year. They are now the clear Supporter Shield leaders, and that's having Messi and Alba and Busquets and Suarez for a full season. It makes a difference.
Well, Messi, it's not really a full season. He's been out for a long, long time. He hasn't played since the World Cup.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, he was at preseason with all that crazy preseason trip, which might have really worked against him. He injured himself for Argentina in Copa America. So that's
Copa America, rather. Sorry,
that's where he got hurt. But yeah, to answer your question, coaching wise, I just think it's pretty easy to, if I could be so trite, to turn the page, because you're going up against this juggernaut. It's going to be a big crowd. I just think the energy. I think you're going to get a Tigres effort, and that's the last time they've won a game in their last 12.
And that was at Red Bull Arena.
Won a game in their last 12. Their last regular season win, July 3rd against Montreal. That seems like a
long time ago. Pretty much is.
Yeah. So so New York City's scrambling. Chris Sakonis started figuring out what they needed to do in order to avoid the 8-9 game. Right now they're
thinking that.
Well, he said if they don't win 3 out of 5, there's depending on other results, because he checked the points. What is the average points? I don't have all this in front of me, but he did it at the end of the game and put it in his report. The average points for the 8th place team, he came up with that. And he said, well, New York City needs to win 3 of their last 5 in order to achieve enough to stay out of 8th place statistically over the last 5 years. Okay,
so let's look at the last games that they have. They have Inter Miami. Then after that, they play at Red Bull Arena against the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
Because the next 2 games are also at Red Bull Arena, most likely. Right. But New York City is the home team. Nashville is one of the games. And Chicago. Cincinnati is the other one, right? Cincinnati, and then the last game of the season is in Montreal. Can we put that one as a game? Can we put that one as down as a win? They never lose against Montreal.
No, and they never lose against Miami either. So are we putting that down as a win?
Well, it's a different Miami. Although we can't forget this, New York City at the end of last year, after they had finished their season, they got invited to Miami or to Fort Lauderdale to play the celebration game for Lionel Messi winning the Ballon d'Or. And New York City beat them with Messi in the lineup. So it's not the first time that Kevin O'Toole, who we expect to be in the lineup, is going to be going one-on-one against Lionel Messi. He's going to have to use that entire Princeton education again to be able to try to slow him down.
The level I rate that game as significant in any manner is out of 10 is like 0.001. Especially, well, Julian Fernandez had a nice strike in that. Maybe that built his confidence going into the next year. He scores in back-to-back games, and now he has disappeared. Not really. He's still in the squad, but
well, he was suspended 2 games ago, and they keep on rotating everybody as far as the wingers are concerned. Nobody's really stepped up and said, "Hey, I'm the guy."
Yeah,
that's the thing.
One player, Alonso Martinez. Seriously.
Yeah, no, but but he's no longer a winger. He's a striker now.
Well,
But as far as the
in terms
wingers
of
are
goal-
concerned,
Yes, goal scorers we're talking about. We don't care if they're a wing. The wingers for New York City FC are not wingers. Can we be very clear on that? They play centrally. They always drive the ball towards the middle. They rarely go around the edge. Ojeda sometimes. So I don't think New York City's wingers are wingers. So you want that from me. And if Santi Rodriguez happens to start on left wing on
yeah,
Saturday,
he's always in the middle. That's
he's not a winger.
No, he
Hannes
doesn't
Wolf-
go there.
Hannes Wolf's not a winger. And
Hannes Wolf is like something's up. I don't know what it is, but Hannes's form has dropped considerably.
He has one goal contribution in his last 11 games, all competition. So I think that he's 5-7, 5 goals, 7 assists, 4 game-winning assists. I mean, when he's been good, he's been really good. And but I think Nick's gonna, you see the things that Wolf does that might not be proven statistically, and I think that's why Nick keeps him in. Excuse me, he's a fantastic. Well, I just ate a little dinner before the show. The show going a little later than we originally thought, so that was definitely a chicken breast hiccup. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's see. So
Foul play. Let's see what I did there.
Oh, also, the last Inter Miami New York City game, 1-1 in Miami. I don't know if you recall this, but New York City started 3 at the back, 2 up front. Remember, it went with Baccarar and Martinez, and then made the switch.
Yeah,
Martinez goes out to the wing, and that's where he scored the goal. He had the goal. Suarez had the goal for Miami, 1-1. The result in that first game.
So Miami comes from tying Atlanta 2-2. Atlanta came from behind twice in that game. Suarez and Messi did not start, but did play decent minutes in the second half.
Messi played a half hour. Suarez played 10 minutes.
So they're going to be ready for the little field at Yankee Stadium.
Less running for Suarez, and Messi doesn't run, so it's less space for him to walk.
Exactly. But look, I'm not criticizing him for that.
No,
he's freaking amazing.
I love those comments. Like, even in the World Cup, it's like, oh man, he walks most of the time. It's,
yeah, and
look where he comes up with things. And well, the greatness, the beauty, why you're in awe of a guy like that is at 37, he is he's still just I those kind of players where they just find the pockets, they just drift. They wait for you to turn your back, and that's the magic of Messi, and that's what you'll see tomorrow. He'll receive the ball with space 12 times tomorrow, and you'll go like, "How could that be?" And it's just because he understands the game. He's been playing it for a while, and he's been playing it pretty well.
You ever have a boss who only appreciated effort and didn't appreciate the final result, the end product? So he would give more. Like, I had a boss, okay, that it would, when I wasn't at work, it would take people, like 6 hours to finish several pages of work that we would put together in a magazine. When I was there, we would get the same thing accomplished in less than an hour. And he would be upset at me that I didn't put in an effort, even though I did the exact same thing in so much less time. It was these people that just never could appreciate, somebody's knowledge and talent to do something versus, somebody killing themselves to get something accomplished when somebody else can do it because they know it better, to be able to do it a lot quicker. And that's where Messi is in life right now on a soccer field. Okay, he doesn't have to run up and down the field 1,000 times to be able to get, a goal or set up a goal or to do things. All he needs to do is identify, look around, scan around, know where he needs to just run a little bit and put himself in a good position and score. That's a freaking talent. And that's what he's got. And other people just don't have it at that level.
I'm just looking at his honors. I guess the most impressive is 8 Ballon d'Ors, and 2023 was a bit disputed, but yeah, he led Argentina to the World Cup for the first time since '86, and it's just to play, so the country was, he deserved it. I have no problem with that. Plus, individual awards don't really do anything for me, but the team awards, I can't even count up the amount of La Liga titles that he and his boys had at Barcelona. I mean, it's just, and Club World Cup, 3 of them, Super Cup, 4 of them, Champions League, 4 Champions Leagues, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 league titles in La Liga.
Yeah, he's good, by the way. This just in.
Yeah, but I mean, those are just some of the things. So, well, I'm really looking forward to it, Roberto. I know you are too. And then Miami, if they win 4 of their last 5 games, they also have 5 games left. They will clinch the single season points record, which is held by New England. New England did it recently.
The 2021.
Yeah.
And then they got 23 days off, and New York City beat them in penalty kicks up at Foxborough. So
their point total that year was 73 points, New England. So that's the target for Inter Miami. They're on 63 now with 6 games left. And LAFC had 72 points in 2019. And it's interesting who's third. New York Red Bulls, 71 points in 2018. That's the year Jesse Marsch left and Chris Armas came in and took over as the interim. And they won Supporters Shield. And, at the time had the points record in MLS.
Yeah.
And now Chris Armas is in Colorado with the Rapids, and I don't want to say I'm surprised, but it's pretty interesting how much success
he's doing very well. I'll say I'm surprised because there was nothing that indicated before that he would be able to achieve this.
I guess not.
But I'm happy for him, and maybe it's all about lessons learned. You stop at one place and it doesn't work out for you. You learn, Bill. If you're going to judge Bill Belichick, if we go to the NFL, on his work in Cleveland, then what are you going to do? He was not good in Cleveland. That's why he got fired. But then he went to New England, and then Drew Bledsoe got hurt, and Tom Brady came in, and all of a sudden, you won a whole bunch of Super Bowls.
And Belichick didn't lose any games as the head coach of the Jets. Because he didn't coach any games. That son of a...
He was a coach for the Jets for like an hour.
Son of a B. I blame it on the Jets. So I'm sure management screwed that one up somehow. Unbelievable. Let's see. A couple of other Messi things, which I think are interesting. Because, there's so much surrounding Messi. So he's launched a production company. Did you see this?
I saw the headline. I wasn't able to get into the article.
It's called 525 Rosario, which is his hometown in Argentina. And it's dedicated to creating family programming and premium television content. So we'll see what that's all about. And then, what is this?
Hey, if they need a voiceover talent, I'm available.
Soccer X. Well, they're going to do it in English, so that'll be me. Soccer X. I don't think they'll be doing. I'm sure they'll be in both languages. Are you kidding? Soccer X. So that's you've been to Soccer X.
I've been to the one in Miami. Yes.
Yeah. So it's an annual event. It's a huge, mostly business, but really cool thing. Everybody shows up for this thing. So they just put out something today. The next 10 ticket purchasers will be entered into a draw to win a signed boot by Lionel Messi. And they have a picture of it here. It'll be like encased, I guess, in some sort of like glass case as well.
Well, as it should be. It's like sort of like a Cinderella slipper.
So there you have it. We're not going to get near the guy tomorrow, but we will have a chance to talk about it. Hey, before we get out of MLS, this is I don't know about you, Roberto, but I love when athletes do this on social media because it's so stupid. And Sebastian Driussi, who's a designated player for Austin FC, pretty much a beloved figure in Austin, but they're on the verge of not qualifying for the playoffs for the second consecutive year under Josh Wolf. So, Shane, put this tweet up from Driussi. It's actually more, it's a repost. I guess you really can't see it if you're looking at it now, but there's a guy named Bang Olf who tweeted out
Bang Olaf.
Bang Olaf, trade Seba, fire Josh. That was the tweet put out by this guy. It was retweeted or reposted by Sebastian Driussi.
That was good. The one below it too. I think it's time to move on from Driussi and fire and find a decent 10 on the market. So far, so good this first half, and he reposted that one too. So
Wow.
I mean, maybe he was feeling a little bit upset, and sometimes you do things that you later go, "What the hell was I thinking?" It's in the heat of the moment. Or maybe he just really wants out of Austin, which is a beautiful city. And they've got a gorgeous stadium. And
they've got Antone's, the one of the iconic blues clubs. Are you kidding me? So if we look at Austin,
I'm not too sure Driussi is actually concerned about that, but maybe he is.
That should be a big part of it. Austin is in 10th place right now in the West, so they're a notch below Minnesota, but they trail Minnesota by 4 points for that 9th and final spot. And
where's FC Dallas? FC Dallas is right around there as well.
They're
right?
a point below Austin in the 11th place, and then it's Kansas City, St. Louis, and San Jose. San Jose is the only club in MLS that has already been eliminated from the playoffs, but St. Louis and Kansas City are very close behind. It's going to be tough to make up 8 points for Kansas City and 11 points for St. Louis. So that it's been a disaster this year for St. Louis.
San Jose, by the way, for those of you who don't know, owned by the same guy who owns the Oakland Athletics, who are going to be the Nomad Athletics, because they're going to play in Sacramento, I think, the next year. And the stadium that was proposed to be built in Vegas isn't finalized. And they don't have a lease with the Coliseum. It's just a mess. It's all about real estate play and nothing about giving two hoots about the baseball team.
Just a couple other things before we kick it around. It'll be a very brief kicking it around.
Very quick, yes.
But Nashville, I'm looking at the Eastern Conference. So if New England is at the bottom of the table with 28 points, they're only 5 points out of a playoff spot as the last place team in the East. Chicago is 4 points out of a playoff berth above them. Montreal, as bad as they've been, 2 points away from Philadelphia and the 9th position. Philadelphia moving into playoff position with a victory over New York City. Nashville is a single point along with Atlanta a single point behind. DC is tied on points, but Philadelphia has one of the tiebreakers. I think it's goal differential.
It's a goal scored, right? And goal differential, both of them, and by a hefty amount. It's not even close. Yeah. Philadelphia is +6. But,
yeah.
DC United -13.
My point here is one of New York City's remaining games is a home game, which is not a home game. It's at Red Bull Arena, where we know they won't get more than 10, 11, 12,000. It's not happening. I wish it would, as I'll put in my
That's optimistic, by the way.
Well, why would they come for this one?
No, I'm saying that's optimistic. They're going to get like 5 to 7.
I think wasn't it 12 last time?
For Tigres. Yeah, for Tigres.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. You're right.
There was a lot of yellow in that stadium that day. It was a both crowd. By the way, both teams really were well supported. I mean, everybody who was there was loud for both teams. And there were a lot of people that were like both teams too. So
yeah. But my point about Nashville, under BJ Callahan, they've now won 2 in a row. And that was after they had lost 8 straight. So the way I look at it, and his system that he's putting in and the way he wants them to play, it's going to take some time. And maybe the time has come. So what I'm saying here is here's a team, a single point out of a playoff berth. We don't know where they'll be in the standing in a couple of weeks, October the 6th, when New York City hosts them at what we believe will be Red Bull Arena, because the Mets are looking pretty good to get into the playoffs.
Yes, they are.
And then Citi Field won't be available, and the Yankees are in, so Yankee Stadium won't be available. But that's a game. That's a massive game. And then Montreal's only 2 points out now. What if they win a couple of games? Now you go down on decision day or up north of the border. New York City's got a tussle, and Cincinnati, you know how that goes. I mean, that's tough. Red Bulls. So, and then Miami Saturday. Roberto, what I'm kind of saying is There's no lock for anything right now. Anything.
There isn't. I still think that for them to fall all the way down to 8th would be it would. I think it takes a lot to get there. There's a full point difference between them and Toronto, which is in 8th right now, and New York City's played one less game than Toronto, plus the fact that Toronto is minus 15 in their goal differential, while New York City is even. They're 0 now.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot that has to happen. But I mean, we talk like this because it's 8 games in a row without eight MLS games in a row without a victory. So, but this is a league, So let's say New York City beats Inter Miami, which is within the realm of possibility.
Of course,
right? Right. They beat Inter Miami. They can go on a run towards the end of the season. That's what happened to them in 2021 when they were going through the same crappy thing. And then Goody Robinson scored that goal in Atlanta, and then they never lost the rest of the way.
Yeah. No. Well, they need that sort of inspiration. And
where is Goody now?
It could be easily provided. Goody is. I tracked him for a while. He's playing, I think, in Denmark, but that could be wrong. But I don't have it.
I have no idea. But I mean, somebody else can become the new Goody and score that goal. That maybe it's a close game. It's 1-1, and 90th minute, and they get a goal in stoppage time, and that puts New York City in a better position and feeling better and feeling good about themselves going into the Red Bull game. I mean, you just never know how all of this is going to work, which is why you should be at Yankee Stadium. If you don't have a ticket, go get them. They gotten cheaper.
That's for sure. It's not $9,000 for pitch side, but I think you can get them for under 100 now, Roberto.
Yes.
If you want a Goody goal, Hannes Wolf is your best bet, or Julian Fernandez if he's on the field.
Well, he's done that a couple of times already.
If you have a set piece, well, Hannes Wolf has too, at that really severe angle. Remember that one? So almost like an Olympico free kick, but angle to the right, about 25 meters, and then just beat the keeper at the near post, and so maybe it'll be Hannes Wolf that provides the magic. All right, Roberto, let's
I just checked this. Wait, one last second. I just checked it again just now, and there it is. Still $98, 98 and change, and that includes the fees. I think there's maybe like there's a $4 fee added to each order. It says so 102.
All right, so it's not
which I mean, it's Messi and an important game, so go. The weather's supposed to be decent.
Okay, kick it around.
Go.
Well, I'm just going to go with Pochettino, U.S. men's national team, Guillaume Balaguer. I thought this was such a good interview. I'm just going to play one clip here, Shane. And Roberto, this is interesting because Pochettino recently went on a Gary Neville podcast and said something which we'll talk about after this clip is played because, a lot of at this introduction, the unveiling of Pochettino that we went to last week, all the U.S. soccer muckety mucks were there, including Cindy Parlow-Cohn, JT Batson. And of course, the question that is always asked is, what is success in 2026 for the U.S. men? Everybody wants an answer like, quarterfinal, the whole thing like that.
Right.
So that's the way I address this with Guillaume Balaguer, the author of Brave New World, the biography of Mauricio Pochettino.
And I didn't put this in the book, obviously, because it's my experience of it. One day, I wasn't at my best and wasn't feeling great. Head-wise, not so much physical. And then I had 1 hour every Monday with him. And I walked into the room, and within a minute, he says, "What's wrong?" I'm like, no, nothing. And he asked a couple of questions more, and I spent the hour talking about myself. And at the end of it, I thought, what a waste of time. Because, you know, 45 minutes, 1 hour is the
Right,
maximum.
you're cherishing every moment to put into this missive that
Yeah,
you're
you need to use the time because you feel
Yeah.
you're missing out. And then walking back home, I thought, do you know what? I learned a lot today. That's his magic. I felt listened to. I felt that he had relevant things to say about it from his own experience, or just taking back stuff that I've told him in the past and putting it together. And I thought, that's what he does with players. He puts them there, sits them there. And I've seen this. I've been allowed in the presence of Hugo Lloris, for instance, and Mauri, when they were talking about kids, about I just knocked the door. Can I come in, or do you want me to come in later? No, come in. And I sat in a corner, let them talk, and that's what he does. Just ask Hugo, how is it? How's your daughter? This, blah 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 blah, and that's what he did with me. So that was a lesson on what Mauricio is about.
So that's my fault. I gave the clips in the improper order. That was the Magic of Pochettino clip where Balaguer, Guillaume, he got to go. This is the coolest thing. I mean, this is the kind of stuff where I'd go like, oh my God, I would love this. Every Monday during the entire season in 2017 with Spurs, he got an hour with Pochettino in his office every Monday. And Pochettino agreed to it. So that's why he was referring to the fact, I lost the hour, but then he understood what Pochettino was doing. He just cared about him. And then he was talking about Hugo Lloris, who's now out in LA. But at the time he was the Spurs goalkeeper. So, we know Pochettino he has that players coach thing. And Shane, I don't know if you want to just write me a quick note. Do we have the other clip? What is success? Oh, cool. So, Roberto, this is the what is success clip. All right.
All right.
And then we'll talk about what he told Gary Neville. All right, here we go.
Success. And it's a very general response. Nobody wants to say we got to get to the quarters, we got to get to the semis. It'll be interesting to see what he says along the way. But you believe this is a good move for him?
Yeah, I'm convinced, and I think I'm gonna speculate a little bit here. I think if he gets asked what success would be on his period with the national side, I think he would say something like, if by my last day or by the World Cup, I've got the fans on my side because they enjoy what they see. If I get players at a better form than they are now, if the team projects a bunch of feelings that makes people happier, and if I am happy as well, that will be success. Would that be last 16 quarterfinals of the World Cup? Who knows? And in a way, who cares as long as you come out of the group stages?
All right, so that was last week, that interview. And since then, Pochettino has gone on Gary Neville's podcast. And I wrote down a quote. This is Pochettino. The truth, with a question mark, the quarterfinal is the target. They were very clear. Now, who's they? His boss.
Cindy Parlow and company.
Matt Crocker, the G, right? So, yeah. So now we get a little bit more of a real answer there, Roberto. That's not that I think a round of 16 would be acceptable, but the target is.
And in this case, I believe that means that he's got to win 2 games to get there.
Oh, because
not just one, because of the new format.
Yeah. Wow. Well. Let's see who's in the group first before we start saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, so what happens if the U.S. gets out of its group, is playing really well, and the next team to play is France, and you lose to France in penalty kicks? Is that now, a terrible World Cup because you lost to France? That, by the way, then goes on and wins the World Cup.
No, that's.
So that's the whole problem with these. Well, we got to get, like Mexico always says, we have to get to that 5th game. And now they're saying, well, what do we consider, a goal? Well, the quarterfinals. But we don't know what the draw is. We don't know what any of this is. And if the first knockout stage game is France and they go on and win the World Cup, and you took them to penalty kicks, let's say, is that a freaking failure? It's so tough. It's sometimes not fair. I mean, I just want to add some context to this. It's so hard to make those sort of predictions.
Yeah. So what Guillaume said is kind of is probably the way Pochettino is truly looking at it. But It's you're hosting. It's the eyes of the world. Which, by the way, this game tomorrow. I wanted to bring this up, Roberto, and I know we're over an hour here, but what the heck? Shane, thanks for hanging in. This game tomorrow, because it's 2:00 in the afternoon Eastern, this game will truly, it's Messi. First of all, it's Messi playing, but this game will truly be seen around the world. I mean, like people now in Europe and really across the
Africa.
globe can watch the game at
Parts of
a
Asia,
time when
yeah.
they're awake. I wonder how many. I mean, I look at our analytics. People that are tuning into us in the UK, and it's more than a handful, but still, they've got to be up at 1 or 2 in the morning to listen to their beloved New York City FC, I guess. But this is truly so it's massive for New York City FC in that respect too. To me, that you've got a lot of eyes on you here. How you play against the best team in MLS could make a difference in recruiting, right?
Absolutely, and fandom. To say nothing of fandom, you can, you come out with a really super effort and you play a great game and you come away with an exciting victory, and whatever player comes up with 2 goals or a hat trick or something like that, and it could be life changing for them. You never know. It's a great time. I'm shocked, by the way, that MLS doesn't play more afternoon games. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that they would get, some more eyeballs in other parts of the world. I mean, it's very hard in most of Europe, 99% of Europe, to watch a 7:30 game when it's 5 and 6 hours later over there.
Yeah,
it just is. I mean, and then watching a game on replay, because you get everything stored on MLS Season Pass, Apple TV, everything's stored there. Watching a game on replay, it just doesn't have the same feel. It's live, and that's what you want to watch.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like watching it live. Although every now and then, especially with my beloved Jets, when they have a rare moment when they get into the postseason. I remember one year I had to coach a game and I couldn't watch the Jet game. And I told my family, I do not want a word uttered. I'm not going to look at anything. I'm going to get the hell out of my game, which we won. Fortunately, I was in a good mood, come back. And sure enough, my son was in the basement and he came upstairs and like Mary, my wife, said, make sure you don't say anything. No, just get out of here. And he looked at me and he smirked and I knew they won the game. I was so upset.
So let me ask you, did you watch the game last night?
Only a little bit because I had a broadcast. What do you want me to do, man? I was working. I have other games I do just like you. But I was happy to see. I watched like the last 10 minutes. So I saw them play well. And but not
they played well from first snap on. It was if they had their first lead of the year, not of the year, their first time that they took the lead first. They had their first lead at halftime. Aaron Rodgers felt a lot more comfortable with his offense and getting in tune with his players, which he really, he didn't have a preseason, didn't have a season last year. So he really hasn't had a lot of time to be able to play. It was just fun to call that game last night. And defensively, Jesus, I mean, they had 7 sacks. New England was just overrun yesterday.
Did you see I saw something on social media. It was just a little clip of it looked like
I know where you're going.
Salah, the head coach, was trying to give Aaron Rodgers a victory hug, and then Rodgers looked at him very strangely. And what happened there?
So what they said afterwards, and they both laughed it off, was that it was after the second touchdown that had put the Jets ahead 14-0, and that it had gotten Robert Saleh a little bit excited about it. And then normally when they go, one of their celebration is to like push each other away. But this time Saleh went in for the hug as opposed to like the mutual push. And so Roger said, it's too early to be celebrating and, to be hugging. So that was that. So, but they both laughed it off. But look, dude,
I didn't know what happened.
I'm just saying there's a lot of people.
I'm asking because I didn't know.
I'm getting right. So I'm giving you the context.
So, but you don't have
you don't need to add
this next part then.
Yes, I
just
do.
wanted to know. No, you don't.
No, I do. And the part that I'm adding, you can cover your ears because you're not the only one listening to me. So the point being is that even in the best families, sometimes you have arguments. And if that was a moment that they were actually arguing as opposed to, just nothing serious, it happens. No big deal. Everybody's on the same page. And it was a really good win for the Jets last night on Thursday Night Football. So now they got, after 3 games in 11 days, now they got 10 days off before they they're visited rather by the not very powerful Denver Broncos.
Let me ask my question. When's the last time they were 2-1? You should know this, man. You were calling the game. When's the last time they were 2-1 to start a season?
It's been a while.
All right.
It's been a while.
Get that answer before you do the next game, man.
Well, we'll have it. Look, the way I working with all these different games and all that, and this happened to me at ESPN when every day I would be doing a different sport and stuff. It all became disposable knowledge. You read up, you have your notes in front of you, you're tuned in for the game, you're locked in, you have all the information, you give it out after the game. The minute the game ends, you can ask me the score and I won't know it. It's like over, and I'm already thinking about the next thing. Right now, I'm locked in on Inter Miami and New York City FC, which we're broadcasting tomorrow if all goes well.
All right. Well, good on you to get out of something that you should have known. So I appreciate the excuse. Since we're talking about other sports, let's wrap with this, because I used to be a massive baseball fan. I don't watch it as much anymore because we're both like embedded in this sport of soccer. Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers. Did you see this?
I saw that. Yeah.
So everybody
50-50.
If you're involved in social media, I mean, you look at social media, just go on there and find. There's somebody's posted a 5-minute clip. Watch every second of it. He was 6 for 6 with 3 home runs, 10 runs batted in, and he became the first player in the history of the game, to hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in a single season. I mean, this dude,
he's awesome. By the way, not bad for a pitcher.
Yeah, exactly. And he hasn't been pitching because his arm still is not back.
Yeah, they say he might pitch in the playoffs. I don't know. That would be crazy. But
here's what's going to be interesting.
We'll
He has had such a season offense. Let's say the Dodgers win it all. I would love to see a Dodgers-Yankees World Series. Let's say the Dodgers win it all. Do you do the Babe Ruth thing? Like, you ain't pitching anymore, dude. You hit too many good, you just focus on hitting and catching the ball, or I don't even know.
He can do it both. I mean, if he fully recovers from his shoulder and everything's fine, you let him do both.
I want him to do
because
both,
he's a brilliant pitcher.
I want him to do both. I'm wondering if they win the World Series without him as a pitcher, will they consider saying, "Nah, just concentrate on the other side of it"? That's what I'm asking. It's a management question. It's not like an emotional, this is what we'd like to see. It's a management question. Now, if you're taking a management coaching aspect and saying, yeah, we need him as a pitcher, then I respect that. I'm just saying, they might contemplate that. You never know.
Contemplate a lot of things. But anyway, he's got like a ridiculous contract, which he's earned. It wasn't given, it was earned. So, which I think averages about like $50 million a year, although a lot of it's deferred. So, and then he was a guy who was ripped off by his translator. Yeah. The translator gambled a lot of his money away, and he still has a pretty good treasure chest despite it. He'll be okay. And a very smart lawyer who I guess he's paying far fewer taxes than he would have if he just signed like a normal deal. They literally considered, and I think they still are, of changing the tax law in California because of what he did. He should be paying his taxes, man. He's making a lot of money. He is paying his taxes. It's the laws. What do you want? If you're going to take advantage of every loophole that they give you, and you should. Yeah, you should. I agree. You should. All right, Roberto. So it's 1:45. Like, we got to keep studying. We got to get our charts ready here. We don't have that normal long period of time during the day. No. And I got to get there early to bring wires and a whole bunch of stuff. God.
1:45 p.m. Eastern pregame show for Roberto and myself. Roberto, I don't know if you have a player guest. I'll have my normal with Nick Cushing.
Thiago Martins.
Nice. So what is he? Well, I'm not going to be able to hear it. Plus, I don't speak Spanish, or I can't really understand too much Spanish. So did you challenge him on being the leader and making sure that these damn mistakes don't happen anymore?
I challenge him.
That's what you have to do. I'm gonna do an English interview with him, and I'll show you how to ask the question. Okay.
Oh, okay. Fine. Let me just say this. He was very forthright and open about the fact that the team made a lot of mistakes in this game, and that they've got to absolutely clean it up to be able to beat Miami, and that they're focused and that they're happy, that they got 3 games, that they got 3 days only, and that they've got to be, right mentally and physically for Miami, and they don't have a week to stew about this. So that was part of what he said, but he was, he was good. He was a good captain that way, as far as, making sure that, this is on us.
Yeah, but he's got to get in somebody's face, man. I mean, there can't be here's a guy that's 4th in MLS in clearances. All right. He does his job, man. He does his work. He had the mistake in the game. What are you going to say about Thiago Martins?
Yeah.
He made a mistake. It led to a goal. He's been one of the most consistent players they've had all year, and important.
They're only all-star.
Covering for a lot of things going on at the back. Covering for a lot of things that go on at that back that maybe go unheralded. But because he's in that position and because he's the captain, I want to see him get angry with the players around him when they are.
You see him, right? But you see him yelling at the players. I've seen it.
No,
I've noticed him doing it. You're not going to hear him because he has a voice issue. You're literally not going to hear him because his voice is almost like a whisper. But he gets heard. He's the one who always does get heard, and he's very vocal and gesticulates and everything when he's upset at somebody.
Yeah, I'm thinking more the overall, like whether it's on the field, off the field, in the locker room, whatever it might be. And we're not privy to any of this.
Yeah, well, that's why it's.
Yeah, but I do not, and I repeat, I do not get the sense that there's anger involved. It's learning, it's evolution, this is my belief. And look, everybody's got a way to go about it, and I'm not suggesting my way is the best way, but because of the numerous lack of denial of service, free headers in the area, leading to the 4th goal this time. That just closed out the game, against Philadelphia. The number of times that's happened this season is enough. I just think you have to get angry at some point, not in a threatening way, but you gotta really think about a different approach. But that approach might have been used because we don't see a lot of this stuff.
We don't see, and maybe what you're asking is for Thiago to do what you want to do. Is get angry at the team and yell at them.
Yeah, or James Sands or somebody. We saw Sands so pissed off one game. You could just tell going into the locker room. I can't remember. I don't remember which game it was, but we remarked it was like, so I'm wondering, did he go in the locker room and did he lay into them and say, let's get out and have a better second half? Well, we don't know those things. And honestly, it's really not our business because that's the sanctity of the locker room. And that is sacrosanct within a team, man. You don't expose those things. And
right, exactly. There's one thing that I want to point out, and I'm going to be watching very carefully. If Strahinja Tanasiewicz plays, because we don't know if Berkreis is going to be ready or not.
No, he's already listed as out.
He's out. He's listed as out. Okay, fine.
Yeah, he's out.
So we're going to see Strahinja Tanasiewicz. Tanasiewicz against Luis Suarez is going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
Well, here's what he's got to be careful of. If he comes in, the one thing I've got to say about Tanasiewicz, and I think he's been pretty good, but he tends to overcommit on these players. And these guys like Suarez and Messi, they will turn him and spin him like a top. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to grab him. There's the yellow card. If that happens 15 minutes into the match, woo, then it becomes precarious. Tough. Yeah, then it becomes precarious.
That is going to be tough.
He's got to be He's got to be level-headed. Don't overcommit on these guys. Don't overcommit. Put your hand on their hip. Get low. Don't let them turn on you, and see what happens. And win the ball when you can. Yeah, it is. It is. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Roberto Abramowitz. I'm Glenn Crooks. Shane, our producer. The Sick Podcast, it is. NYCFC Views. We were live. See ya.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube.